We've done some.
Hi, Mary. Just talk to me real quick to make sure I have good audio.
Can you hear me?
Perfect. All right, so you can mute and turn your camera off until we're ready to go.
Sure.
Thank you.
Right.
And I'd like to call to order the Curriculum and Student Development Committee and the Madison Board of Education. Members of the committee are Kathy Miller, Mary Ann Connolly, and I'm Stephen Pinn. And we're joined by our Assistant Superintendent, Gail Donning-Hench, and Seth Klaskin, who's the chair of the Board of Ed. So at this point, I'd like to turn the meeting over to our Assistant Superintendent. And I know we have some fascinating things on the agenda tonight, so Gail.
Thank you so much. And I'd like to welcome the co-presenters tonight. Mary Merkel Scotland is with us on Zoom. Hey, Mary, thanks for joining us.
Hi there. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah, you're perfect. And Mary Beth Czar is here in person. She will be presenting a little bit later after our first presentation. So I want to thank you both for being here. So let me explain a little bit about the roles and just kind of what they're going to be covering, and then we have another agenda item later in the meeting. But Mary Merkel Scotland is here to do a presentation on a trip to Portugal, which Mary, we've had the slide up and we're all like looking at the picture of Portugal with a little green with envy. We all want to be able to chaperone that trip. So I hope you don't mind the board coming with you.
Hey, you got space, you know, and apparently only Madison employees are allowed. So as long as you qualify.
So Mary's going to talk us through her proposal for Portugal, and like other proposals for international travel, we go through the board for final approval based on this committee's recommendation. But like some other trips that we've had, there's a period of time for posting to get student interest that might precede the board approval. So Mary will be seeking permission from the board to be able to post it pending board approval and see if there's enough student interest, if that's suitable for the committee. So I did want to put that in the forefront so you can listen with that in mind. But Mary's going to walk us through the proposal, and then we're going to move on to really learning a lot about our multi-language learners here in Madison and how we're servicing them, which I think will blow your minds. I think it's just fabulous. So thank you, Mary. I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about Portugal, and hopefully we'll be packing our bags within a minute.
Great. And just a quick question. I'm thinking 5 to 6 minutes. How much time do you guys have for this?
Perfect. That's perfect. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I trust you guys have had a look at the itinerary. We can just move right through. The trip is being organized by myself and by Rosana Casais. She is a Spanish teacher. She's fluent in Portuguese. She is fluent in English. She is proficient in French. She is a very talented Spanish teacher. And we had hoped to go to actually Morocco and Portugal, but we had to limit it to Portugal. So Morocco, stand by for Morocco. That'll be another year or so. Safety, we use Promitor. That's our travel company. You can move on to the next slide. I've been using them fairly exclusively since 2012, when I started teaching in New Haven. And they've been managing providing all the guides and organizing all of my international trips since I've been at Daniel Hand. Rosanna, you can move on to the next slide. Rosanna is a veteran teacher at Daniel Hand, and she has been with me on the Quebec trips, and we have a great vibe together. A lot of her students are really excited about this trip, and many of mine are as well. And I did just have the privilege of going to the Galapagos. I was asked to chaperone that trip. Everyone wants to know how I got on that, and I'm not even sure myself. But I love travel, and I just want to say, I think it is so important for kids to get out of their comfort zone. I think it's important for kids to learn how to use public transportation and, city buses, subways, and the like. And I think it's a great way for them to make friends with kids they wouldn't otherwise hang out with. So trips are my jam. I love them. For those who don't know me, I try to go to Quebec every other year, and on the other years I do an international trip. So this is the international trip for 26, and I was in Rome and Paris in April of 2024. And I do have the famous, moniker as being that lady who was there when Notre Dame went on fire. The trip includes basic insurance. With all their trips, it's not an additional fee. For an additional $195, you can also get the cancel for any reason, which really protects families. We don't commit to traveling until we have the number of students that we agree that we're going to have. And I don't want to go with less than 18 kids. And we've been guaranteed 3 chaperones, whether we have 18 or 24 kids. Our goal is 24, but I'll go with 18 students, which I think is still a good, strong number to have. You can see it's a couple $100 more expensive. We can keep moving. So why travel internationally? I kind of already hit that. We'll do 5 days in, if you want to move on to the itinerary, we'll do 5 days in Lisbon, and then we're going to do 3 days in Porto. I can go into detail, but I feel like you guys have the itinerary right in front of you. You should all have the PDF of the actual trip itinerary, which identifies specifics on what's included and what's not, the insurance and the like. So I did, just following up on what Gail said, if you move to the slide that said trip registration begins Wednesday, May 21st, there we go. So pending board approval, we'll open it live on Wednesday, May 21st. That's after you have your second meeting, right? So tonight we discuss and we get sort of a preliminary, we think this is a good idea or we don't think it's a good idea. And then on the 20th, you'll vote. So we'll go live on Wednesday, the 21st, and we'll open it to juniors and seniors. So that's rising. So current sophomores, current juniors right now. And then we share the link via eNotify on Friday, May 23rd in TJ's like little missive he sends to the whole district or to the whole school. And I would like permission to hold an informational meeting on the 16th. I have that 2 slides down. I think if you have the current one, can you try one more, see if you've got another slide? There we go. So that's what I'd like to post. And what we do is we post like a big sign in the library. This goes on the TV screen and obviously with your permission. And then we'll have the meeting next Thursday in Rosanna's room. And then we'll kind of gauge student interest there. We'll give them the itinerary. They'll go home and talk to parents. We'll probably have a Zoom with parents and, field any questions from parents. And then pending board approval, then you guys will let me know if this is officially approved and then we go live. So I already have the link and everything from Promotor. We're set to go. And whenever you guys are ready, you just let me know. So that's how that goes. Any questions?
Sounds like you covered all the bases and you're an old hand at this.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a marvelous trip.
Thank you.
We'll
Thanks.
put it before the board and hopefully we can get back to you after the 20th and be able to tell you to go ahead, but we'll see.
Great. And Stephen, if you could ask tonight to the board if I could post and hold that informational meeting. I just want to be sure, there's so many parents that when kids don't get on a trip that it can ruffle people's feathers. I just want to, if I can have that informational meeting on the 16th, which is before you actually approve the trip, and I'll say that the trip is pending board approval, then we make sure we cover all the bases. The whole school community will have heard about the trip.
That's my understanding, and we will do that.
Okay.
Tonight.
Okay, great. So I just want to be sure about that. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mary just kind of quickly went over this, but I have to say that while she was in, had just visited Notre Dame when the fire broke out, we were in between superintendents. So I was calling Mary with all confidence that everything was fine, because on the itinerary, the kids were just there. And she was like, hey, we're great. Everybody's great. I'm already calling parents. We're all fine. And it was just such a calm, cool, and collected leadership. And all of the teachers on it were doing their deal. The kids were great. They were fine. And it was actually, a unique time in history for them to be there, and they made the most out of it they could. So, I really appreciate your leadership and times that are unexpected during international travel. I had every confidence that they were fine. They were. It's wonderful. It was a great relief for me. Yeah. So thank you.
That's good. Yeah.
Fortunately, it was none of our students who caused the fire, I guess.
Yeah,
Fortunately, we got a lot of good video out of it though, and it was pretty depressing the next day. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
So I'm going to introduce our next
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
You're very
Mary.
welcome.
our next presentation is really talking about a part of our student body that is kind of small in representation, but mighty in contributions. And Mary works as a fractional multi-language teacher at the high school level. So she works at the 9 through 12 level with our multi-language learners. And Mary Beth Sarr works at the K-8 level, but they are a mighty team. They team all throughout. And they know their students well and their families well. And some of you on the board and on this committee have been able to see some of their family nights. We've gone to see those in action. And I think that what they're going to share with you tonight is just such a rich component of our program that I'm incredibly proud. So thank you both in advance. Thank you for coming. And I'm going to turn it over to Mary Beth and Mary to.
Okay, thank you,
continue our
Gail. Thanks
presentation.
for that introduction. You can go to the next one.
Okay.
So I first wanted to introduce us and our kids. And in our field, the acronyms are constantly changing and it confuses even us. So if I might even slip and refer to the kids as EL kids, but to clarify, we are TESOLs, teachers of English to speakers of other languages. And that was a shift that happened many years ago because it was a shift away from strictly English is a second language, is when the student who's learning is completely fluent and literate in their home language. And we do get those students, but the majority of our students are kids who are growing up in a home where by 2 languages or more languages are spoken, and they're learning 2 languages at the same time. So we are teachers of English to speakers of other languages. And then recently the state and across the nation has shifted to referring to our students as multilingual learners. And the way I've come to explain this to the teachers is it sees it more as an asset, which we're always telling our kids, you guys are superheroes. And rather than being deficient in English, you're learning multiple languages. So this is the current acronyms, TESOL and MLs. So here I just wanted to give a little bit of a picture of the whole Madison community. And how much there is, I always say, because this is what I focus on, Madison is a little more, not so, everybody thinks that it's not as diverse as it is. And we actually have 30 different languages spoken by students throughout Madison. Now, not all these are English learners, but the language is spoken in their homes. And we have at this time, we have 140 students who have another language spoken at home. We have 43 students in the district who have received our ESOL services and exited. And I'll explain a little more about that. And right now we have 31 students that are identified as ML learners and are receiving support. So there you see the bem-vindo, which we just saw that's Portuguese for welcome. And that was when a new student started last year in first grade at Jeffrey, late in the spring in Renee Pardo's room. And all the students in the class made her that welcome banner. And the other picture is a mix of students from Brown, and the kids in that picture speak Ukrainian, Spanish, Korean, and Chinese. And okay, so how do we identify? The identification process all starts with the home language survey. And every student who registers for public school in the country completes a home language survey. We ask what was the student's first language, but we also ask, is another language spoken in the home, and what's that language? So we do that at the time of registration. And then Mary and I know who these new kids are, and I always have lots of new kids to meet at the beginning of the year. And I screen them to figure out their English language levels. And when we talk about English language levels, we address the 4 domains of listening and speaking and reading and writing. And we level students in each of those domains from a level 1, who's a beginner, all the way up to a level 5, who would be above proficient. I didn't do it when I first started, but I now do a parent interview with all of our new students. And it really helps me to clarify the language background of the families, and it also gives me that initial connection with the family. Then we monitor the English language levels once a year with all of our students. We give the Lost Links assessment, and it's basically like a SBAC for English. It's very rigorous, and again, it's given in all 4 domains, and that's how we track. We do, our window comes before all the other testing. I'm busy testing in January and February. And the students then are identified with their current English language level. And then the way we determine it's time for them to be exited is when they are level 4 in overall English as well as reading and writing. And with most of the students, as with all of us, when we've tried to learn another language, writing is the most challenging. So usually our highest level intermediate students are still working on those writing skills, and we're giving them a lot of writing support. And then after they're exited, they're monitored for a smooth transition for 2 years or more if we will step in and help them. Okay, so after they're identified, what do we do? Well, one of the things that's so nice about having a low incident district is we really offer our support based on the individual students' English language levels, their needs, and feedback from teachers. So when I have level 1 or level 2 students, I'm going to be seeing them daily and really building up their basic communication skills. As their basic communication skills get stronger, I ease off, and then we're addressing their academic language, developing their academic language. Yeah, I work with them in some small group situations and pull out, but we also, as they get stronger, we really try to support what their content curriculum, what they're doing in the classroom. And I push into some of the rooms and support them in the room, or I work on what they're working on in the classroom. So it's really based on their needs. Mary?
So this is kind of my wheelhouse here. So I work with the kids in 9th through 12th grade. We currently have a new arrival who came in August from Colombia. And we had another student who's in 9th grade, but he came from Honduras and he came in 7th grade. Mary Beth and I both worked with him when he was at Polson. These 2 students plus a couple of others have been in Madison, and they comprise basically the current population of multilingual learners at the high school. And as Mary Beth said, I give them the same placement test if they're new to the district. Otherwise, I use the last link scores that carry up from middle school. And then usually first trimester, I'm able to meet with them individually outside of the classroom. So they have class with just me. And then pretty much the rest of the year, I'm pushing in. So that means I go into their history class, I go into their English class, and I sit next to them. I try to offer support. It's not as effective always as meeting with them individually, but it's with the sort of the scheduling at the high school, that's sort of how we're doing it. I work to clarify instructions, provide key vocabulary, and help them with their reading. For a new arrival, they're doing a lot of translating with Google Translate. And then the other part of my role is I work with the teachers. So I spend a lot of time working with teachers, teaching them how to take documents and to translate them into the home language of the student. I also discuss with them just sort of general good teaching strategies that we use with our own sort of kids with learning challenges. So things like speaking slowly, using body language, using lots of visuals. Those are all key components of effective teaching with multilingual learners. You see in the slide, we've got the other piece that I work on is the social stuff with the kids. And the level of proficiency increases dramatically when kids can get outside of school and do activities after school like clubs and sports. It makes, and music, it just makes an enormous difference in their comfort level, in that whole, mental health piece. And it's wonderful to see them grow and make new friends. And these are the 2 kids we have right now, Leo and Sam, and they're both soccer fanatics. And Sam is learning to wrestle if you look in the top right. So a couple of things I use the last links test too, and you'll see the seal of biliteracy. And that's not just because I'm a French teacher. One of the ways that I work hard with other teachers is we celebrate all kids. So you saw that like 140 languages are represented. We work, or 30 languages are represented. I don't remember what the statistic was. I work hard to take kids who may not be multilingual learners, but who speak a home language, and we encourage them to test take the CELA biliteracy test in their home language. So we have kids who've taken it in Arabic and Russian and Greek and who've passed it. And it's just a great way to celebrate language learning at the school and to celebrate kids who've been learning other languages in their home. I also help support kids and their parents with the registration process for sports. And if we move on to the next slide.
Okay, I'm gonna jump in here.
Okay.
So another aspect of our job is professional development. And one of the messages that I deliver to the teachers is when they say, how can you possibly teach them English when you're all over the district? And I have to tell them, well, we're really all their English teachers. The English language is part of the core curriculum, and we're all their English teachers, and we're all gonna do this together. So Mary and I have done school-based PD for whole schools. But I also do smaller group. I go to the PLC meetings. I participate in team planning when I can. I attend SST meetings and also we participate in the PPT for the dual identify. That's when we have a multilingual learner who also has an IEP. So we're getting lots of time with the staff and helping them become more comfortable with these students and how they can help support their language acquisition. This picture is from one of our art nights, which you'll hear more about. This was this year. And it's Kenny Makata, who is a new art teacher at the high school in Polson, but he himself was an English learner when he was in school. And he's been great about connecting with these families and speaking Spanish that night. Leslie Lopez teaches at Polson, but she's also the foreign language coordinator for K-8, and she's amazing. She is so helpful with the young kids and reaching out to the families when we need help with the families. There's Katrina Engelhardt, who has helped us with these art night, family nights, Mary, and then also Ching we do have families that speak Mandarin that are limited English, and she has been a huge resource for helping me reach out to these families when I need the help, and she's translated for some parent conferences and getting documents translated. So one of the things we've really worked on in the last 3 years since Mary came on, we kind of had that synergy. It was something I really wanted to do. I was realizing it can be very isolating for these kids in Madison. They're spread out. Oftentimes they're the only English multilingual learner in their class, some of them across many grade levels. And we had high school students say to us years ago, when they found out we were starting to do this, nobody did that. And I always thought I was the only one. So I really wanted to try to build up their connection with each other. So we are up to this year, we've done efforts to both build up their community with knowing each other, but also their connection to the Madison community and what they can take advantage of. And we've really pushed we started with the art nights for the families to get to know each other and for us to give information about what's happening in the community. And then we've also done these library field trips, and we have all of our kids now have library cards, and many more signed up for the summer programs. So this year, the next slide we added, we're going to go a little bit over the 3 big community building, community outreach events we've done this year. We decided to add the spring field trip was so successful, we decided to add a fall field trip. And I want to give a shout out to Gail, because we're trying to bounce around lots of different ideas about where to go. And we decided to do a fall American Fun Day, because a lot of our students have not seen a corn maze or a lot of the other things that they were exposed to. So we went to Bishop's Orchard. We took 30 kids and 6 chaperones, and they just did all kinds of outdoor experiential learning. They got to know each other. It's so exciting. We start out at Brown, and then we go to Ryerson, and then we go to Polson. We pick up Polson in the high school, and then we go to Jeffrey. And for the kids to see, oh, there's other kids, and to watch that bus fill up is really fun, really exciting. And they were exposed to all the things that you see there, and I think the highlights were the go-karts, but also climbing that giant hay bale mountain. They were exposed to all kinds of American cultural things and practiced speaking about it, and it was a really great trip. We added that this year, the fall field trip. And Mary's gonna talk a little bit about the other two events
I
next.
just want to add a shout out about this trip because over the years, Mary and Mary Beth have been able to create such enthusiasm that there's so many teachers who want to chaperone on these trips and who are like, I know these kids, I want to come with these kids. And, really helping them to create a network K through 12. So it's not just one level, it's really a group of teachers who are getting to know these kids every single year. So it's really been exciting. But this trip in particular, I was trying to have meetings and everybody's like, gotta go to the pumpkin patch. I'm like, oh. But it was terrific.
Okay.
So this is a picture of our art night, and as Mary Beth had said, we had actually have been doing this in the springtime, and we found that we were offering this event. This is the third year we did it. The first 2 years, and Katrina Engelhardt, sort of our head art instructor, she kind of creates the agenda, the project. We did big banners, big canvas painting, group painting project the first year. The second year, if you look in the center picture with the woman looking at the frame. I don't know if Mary Beth was able to bring it to the meeting.
There's one here.
Okay, great. You can see those are paper quilts, and we had families all working on their own squares. And then we assembled all the squares together into a project. And then Katrina's like, we're not doing any art, we're doing a STEAM night. And so we said, okay, STEAM night, that sounds great. But the important thing about this night is we were trying to disseminate information to families. And we came up with the idea of, okay, they need library cards. They need to be on the library mailing list, their emailing list. And we need to make sure that you have the ability to sign up for sports in Madison. I'm a Madison resident, and you snooze, you lose. If you miss it, you miss it. They needed to know about free camps and low-cost camps, low-cost opportunities for the summer for their kids. So we worked hard. I translated stuff got things into 4 different languages: Mandarin, Spanish, Mandarin, Spanish, Portuguese, and English. And we have everything that we offer in those languages. You'll see that on the next slide. There you go. And thanks. And Portuguese is missing, but it was available. And we timed this year's, we did it in February, and we timed it this year so that we could have it be just before the sign up for the free library program at Scranton. And Drew Saletti, I don't know if you guys know him from Ryerson, runs that program, and he does a phenomenal job. It's a grant-based program, so it's funding that comes from, I think, either from the state or the federal government. And it's open to anybody. But what was happening is our multilingual families were missing it. They didn't know about it. They didn't know about the sign up. They missed the sign up. So we said, we're going to literally make sure they know about this. We're going to put this in their language. We are going to make sure they hear about this before the sign up happens at the library. And what's really, really exciting is that we've gone up in numbers. The very first year we had, in 2023, no kids of our MLs were signed up. Last year, 5 went, and this coming summer, 11 have signed up. So it's really exciting. When they know, they want to go. And it's really a great opportunity, again, for proficiency. Kids who are surrounded by other kids speaking English, speak English. It's just what happens. So that's a great way for us. It makes our job easier in the fall because kids speak better English, and it's more fun for them, and it's easier for everybody. And then on the next slide, we
Can I pause for a minute, Mary? I just want to go back to that next minute.
Go ahead.
So in this night, Mary Beth and I met, I think the week prior, to talk about this event. And what was happening in the nation at that time was remarkable. So we were just hearing about ICE, and people were wondering about ICE coming to schools. So we weren't sure if our families would be coming that evening. And so certainly you could feel it being a little tense in the beginning of the program. But because these families have networked and known each other for years, you could feel the tension just lift from the room. Everybody starts talking, and there was all sorts of information, and the joy of the event just kind of took over the night. And I think it was the most important timing I've ever seen. I know we didn't know that was going to happen, but Mary Beth and Mary were like, no, we're going ahead. We're not canceling. We're making sure that we hold this event. And it was just a beautiful night. And to see these parents like hugging each other who only see each other at these events, and just having this great time. And now us getting to know like the incoming kindergartners and all the new friends. So, you know, kudos again to the team. They are tenacious in their mission.
Thank you.
Well, right, it was very serendipitous. It's true. Mary Beth got a lot of that information for the Know Your Rights, and we just went over it super quickly with families, but we made sure it was available in print in multiple languages, and I think that definitely helped. So last event this past spring, right before April break, we took kids to Hammonasset. We just came up with the idea of like pushing the envelope a little bit, adding a little bit more pizzazz. We've been taking them to the library and to RJ's for the last 2 years. And I said, you know, we got to shake this up a bit. What can we do? And we decided we'd take them to see the Nature Center. And when Ranger Russ asked the kids, how many have been here before? 4 kids raised their hands. So it really pays to take them to explore just what's right nearby. And we were able to talk about the programs. He talked about the programs. They got a chance to do the touch tanks, to do the reptile room, the birds. So we only spent an hour there, and they had a phenomenal time with the Snakes Alive program. If you look in the top left, a little girl's got her 2 fingers out and she's touching the snake, and the kids got to touch the snakes. Bottom left is we then went to the library. We split into 2 groups. The kids do the tour of the library. Mary Beth has and I have been doing this for the last couple of years. And then we split the groups, and older kids go to RJ's to pick a book while the younger ones have a tour, and then they swap out. The younger ones then go pick a book, and the older kids have a tour. So they get to see the teen room. They learn what resources are available. They learn about the Library of Things. This year we decided to sort of tighten the budget a bit, and kids just pack their own lunch, and we get the Johnson Community Room and Lydia and Tanner at the library. We couldn't do this without them or our wonderful librarians. So they are just hugely instrumental in making sure that this goes off like without a hitch. So we are super thankful for them.
Okay,
Last page we have.
We were
Yeah,
gonna
we have
have a few of our, and we have way more students than this that are involved in clubs and activities, but I'm just gonna go about the first one, Mary. We have one of ours,
Go ahead.
you can see in those slides, whose parents only speak Spanish at home. She is the 3rd grade receiving them from Jeffrey. He's gonna receive the Madison Rotary Club Student of the Year Award. I'm going with her tomorrow with Becky Frost, and I will be going with her and her family. And then Mary picked it. We're really excited about that.
Yeah, and then we have 2 kids. So the first one, their 9th grader at hand, she's going to be receiving the Madison Youth and Family Services Hero Award at a celebration dinner at the Senior Center next week. I'm hoping to pop in for that a little bit. We're just waiting on the time on that part of it. And that's just super exciting. It's a really quiet girl, and she is a library volunteer extraordinaire, and she's a great kid. It's been a really good source of community involvement for her and social interaction to be part of that program. And then we have a 10th grader at hand who was part of the Madison Youth and Family Services summer work program, where they offer, like they help kids, they connect kids to employment. And he was able to get a job through that program. And then the business owner, he did such a great job, the business owner hired him for the year. So that doesn't usually happen. And he was asked to work, and he said, yep, I want this job. So it's pretty exciting. He was at a local business employed throughout the school year. And we were just super, super chuffed about that. So that's, any questions? That's all for now.
In supporting the regular classroom teachers, are there translation apps or something that are utilized to translate the essential curriculum? How is that done?
Yes, well, I have relied, I'll say a little bit, and then Mary may want to say more at the high school. Google Translate has really come a long way. And we really struggled with that years ago, but it's gotten easier and easier. And for me, it's primarily, we did use it a lot if we have a new arrival, young child, but they pick up on the social language so quickly. But for us, for K-8, it's really wonderful for, it's so easy to quickly translate things for communicating with families now. And I mostly rely on Google Translate. There are other translation apps that have also, but they also have some privacy challenges. And I don't know, Mary, if you want to say more about using it with the kids at the high school.
Sure. So a couple different things. Google Classroom, you can just literally click and get the whole classroom in a different language, which is super helpful for assignments. The bigger challenge, I would say, is documents that are scanned documents don't go into Google Translate. So sometimes we work with department heads and have to buy like Spanish version of certain things. Most of the resources are not available. Like most of the textbooks we use aren't available in other languages. But we do work hard. So we do, I mean, a lot of it really, like as Mary Beth said, is with Google Translate. And if it's not with Google Translate, we work to just simplify the English. I do use a program that the district purchased called Diffit. And sometimes when I have the same topic, I can find articles on the same, like, let's just say it's mitosis, cell mitosis. So I'll go look up cell mitosis. I will drop the Lexile level to correspond with the Lexile level of the multilingual learner. And then I can formulate work for that student that'll match up with what they need for their class. So that's one way that we sort of massage information to help kids who need it.
And I would also add that I use an app called Talking Points app, which was created for this, for communicating with the parents. And the teachers, and I've shared this with a lot of teachers, and it really has helped close that communication gap between the teachers and the parents. And the parents are doing everything on their iPhones. And so the teacher can set it up like it's an email, and she's emailing the parent, and she types in English and the parent receives it in their home language. And then the parent uses it as a messaging app on their phone. They type the message in their home language and the teacher receives it in English. So it's been really helpful.
Great. So, I ask what, I'm sure we have a separate budget for, I'm trying to remember, I do remember seeing a line in the
So we
budget.
have a grant, a very small grant that is part of a collaborative in Learn that we have a portion of that's allocated to us that buys the consumables and some of the materials. And of course, the teachers themselves are in our budget, but the materials really come from this grant primarily.
And also from that grant is how we've supported these events, the field trips, the events.
So it's not a lot of money, it's very small amount, but what it does is monumental, and of course, what everybody commits is beyond that too.
Well, it's just, I mean, to me, it's important that we take a beat to discuss this. You know, not only do we greatly appreciate the work you do, apparently the good work you do, and also, you know, the presentation, but I think it's important for people to recognize that in providing a free and appropriate education for all the students in our district, this, you know, we're responsible for this as well. I'm glad to see, like most things in Madison, we take it on and we try to do a really good job with it. We don't just look at it as, oh, we have to do this, so let's do a half-baked version. You know, it's great to see that, you know, the families are really involved, and it's a whole community spirit among the families whose students are getting this additional instruction, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies, very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you for coming in and zooming in.
Okay.
We have one more agenda item, so I'll transition to that agenda item. Thank you both. And I'd like to introduce Josh, if you don't mind coming up. And I'm gonna mess up his name, because it's really hard. Stanovich, but I always want to put like.
You got it.
Fancy.
No, you're right, you're right.
Josh Stanovich has been with us, how many months now? 9 months.
Yes.
And I'll have you describe your role at district and what you do, and then we'll talk about a project that we did together.
Sounds good. So my name's Josh Stanovich. I'm a webmaster for Madison Public Schools. Since the role was divided, it used to be Rita Boland, if you remember Rita. And so what I do today, day to day, is I do the maintenance on the website. I do the backpack announcements. If you ever received a backpack, anything related to that, that's something that I've been working on rebranding that. So it's easier for someone to understand what's going on that's outside of the schools. I work with all departments basically to make things visible on the website. So and then track that, and part of this, what we're gonna talk about is seeing how people interact with our website to see how we can get the best experience for our taxpayers. That's essentially what one of my roles has been.
Yeah, all that stuff I don't understand, but the part I really like is every year I try to communicate to this committee kind of the traffic that we get on the website. Not that I do the analytics, that's always the webmaster that does that. But also the way that we have been communicating with other districts and how we kind of share our work with others. This past year, I would say for the past couple of years, we've been putting together more and more proposals for conferences where we put in to be a presenter in a breakout. And concurrent with the NEASC visit that you just got the final report on, there was an international conference in Boston this fall. And it was actually the day after our NEASC visit concluded. So we had put together a proposal for that conference, that international conference, probably 6 months before that. And in particular, it was around the indicator of curriculum and curriculum around the profile of a graduate work. So myself and TJ and Michelle Horn all co-presented at this international conference. And we felt that the work in Madison, to capture the work in Madison, we would bring more people than us to do a presentation at a session, because all of our teachers write, all of our teachers go create. There's so much work and so much design work. So we came up with the idea that we really wanted to create a booklet. And with that booklet, we wanted to bring the authentic voices of the teachers in the high school and the work that they authentically do, which was a lofty aspiration. And we were very grateful that Josh was willing to come down this journey with us and do a videotaping, a full day taping of all different teachers and voices around their work. And then we paired it in the booklet that you have in front of you. And Josh edited everything and created QR codes that we then had for our participants. And what this document captures is a lot of the work that is in our outreach on the website. So there's documents on the website, but without a voice to explain it, it would take a long time. So what we did is we asked, you'll see representation from almost every department at the high school. And we asked them to speak to different aspects of the work that they have done in the past 5 to 10 years in curriculum writing. And we didn't script it. We had no idea what they were going to say. We just authentically stood there in a green room moment. Josh had his setup and he taped and edited. So when you hit those QR codes, you are going to be amazed at the articulate way that our teachers were able to talk about these. So in that booklet, we distributed them. And along with it, we wanted to make sure that asked Josh to explain, he does Google Analytics, which kind of helps us to understand a little bit of trafficking in some aspects. So I asked him to talk about the Google Analytics for the activities that he could see.
Yeah, so We installed, or we didn't install, we added Google Analytics to our website in the fall. Previous iteration was discontinued. So it was October was the first onset that we started collecting. And then I also added Microsoft Clarity, which is also another tool that allows you to see exactly where users are clicking and where they're lingering on the page. So from that, we've seen that there's been over 2,000 hits for curriculum-based perusing. And of those folks, they're 42% more engaged than a normal person visiting our website. So that's been interesting to see. I do think that we have a lot more hits than that. I think every day or every week we have 6,000 active users on our website. So I think a total for the month, it's close to almost 30,000. Depends on the month, like spring break really messed up April. But depending on, our website is heavily trafficked, but the curriculum pages, we've seen the most traffic was when we had the curriculum questioning of the arts program in January. So you see that where people start to be like, oh, waking up and trying to figure out what's actually happening with the curriculum. So it's nice that it's posted so they can see it. And I think that's what's highlighted there is the fact that we're actually our team, you know, Gail and her people are actually making the work transparent and people can see it. And I think that's what you see there. So
along with that, I printed out for the committee, just we track queries from other places just throughout the system. I send it out to coaches and coordinators every fall. And we just kind of keep track of like who's talking to us and what are they saying and oh, there's the news. And what questions are they asking and how much contact are we having with them? And you can see that we definitely got some international traffic as well as statewide traffic from that conference. And, you know, we continue to think about how we can, you know, share broadly and celebrate the good work that teachers continue to do in the district and that the board supports. We think it's, you know, something that is worthy of our time and effort and worthy of, you know, helping others as they're kind of going down this journey because curriculum work is definitely ever evolving. So that kind of concludes our information. I don't know if you have any questions for Josh or myself, but
yeah, happy to answer.
I think it's fantastic that not only the system that we have in Madison Public Schools for curriculum development, but also the fact that it's all tied to it's all rooted back up to the profile of a graduate and also even further than that up to the mission. Secondly, our willingness to put it out transparently, I think is very important. And it's also, it's paying back to your collegiate community to share it to other districts and even other countries, you know, it's phenomenal.
it's been, you know, I think a lot of fun for us, for me personally, to hear the teachers authentically talk about it without it being scripted. I was a little nervous, I've got to say, like, you know, who knows what they're going to say. And I kind of prompted like, what's the worst part of this? And so I'm interested in hearing your thoughts after you hear their talk. We only did this for the high school for that conference, but I also feel that it's really important to highlight that we could have done this on every level of the system, and every level of the system could have authentically spoken to this. So I feel like we did this for that NEAS presentation, we targeted high school, but every single part of this design process, there was other people who could have done that work at all the other levels. So I just wanted to add that. But I think Josh did a fabulous job of making us look really professional and really smooth, and I appreciate that. So yeah, we actually passed out booklets. They went all over the place.
But I also just want to say, like, the new backpack
Oh, yeah.
that you're extending like online. And I mean, I know people who run, you know, like that's nonprofits in town and whatever, and they always used to try to get their programming into the backpack. And, you know, almost like you would get a one-liner,
Right.
and that was it, and it's
Yeah.
so much better now. And it's so much better broadcast now that it's really helping all of the nonprofits in town as well to thrive, and I really appreciate that. I know they do.
Thank you. Yeah, I was thinking, when I was in middle school, how much I loved the digital I'm dating myself in a weird way here, but when we had a PDF and I would go through it every week, and I would look what's
Yeah.
happening. So like when I came here, I was like, I really would love something visual for the community to like see, you know, because I'm a visual person, so
Yeah.
if we can make it accessible and visual, that's what I wanted to do, so.
And exciting, you know, you're
Yeah.
trying to push programs that are
Right.
good for the students
Right,
outside, like extracurricular stuff. You want to get them engaged, you want to get them excited about participating, and it's really a lot better, thank you.
yeah, thank you.
You know, I think the power of this beyond the specifics that are available in our curriculum online is the message that underlines it all, which we talked about all the time, which is what is the Madison approach? And what this demonstrates clearly by going to the teachers is the whole process and system is teacher driven. You know, at a time when that isn't always the case. So it makes that case, I think, very strongly to anybody who's pursuing a particular curriculum area. The other is what you spoke of, which is just the philosophical conviction professionally that all good work should be shared. We're in the children business and we're in the education business. So, you know, there is no effort to kind of hang on to your special sauce. You know, it's getting it out in the world. And then obviously the specific good work that makes that possible, you know, to make it accessible, but also to be able to track, you know, what is the interest out there?
Right.
You know, very powerful, great work.
Can't be a leader if you don't have any followers.
It's great. We learn more every time we do it. And I have to say, every contact that we make with someone else, they offer us step back to, so we mutually grow.
Yeah.
You know, it definitely, every single conversation that I have or anyone else has, we learn from them. So you will hear Michelle talk about how much outreach she does too, so it's been nice. Thank you.
Good job.
That concludes our
Thank you.
agenda.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Stephen, Mary Ann, you're good? Do we have any public? Okay, barring no public comment and no further questions, we will adjourn at 6:25. Thank you.